All right. Hello and welcome to TE405, Teaching English Language Arts to Diverse Learners. This is a screencast to sort of survey the first day of class that we missed today at MSU. This is section 001. My name is John Wargo and I am the instructor of the course. So one of the reasons why I just wanted to make this screencast is that this class is so jam-packed with content, and because we are a Monday section and we do not have class on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I just wanted to sort of spend some time and really go over some of the larger course themes and goals that I would have done so today. So first, let's talk a little bit about where does TE405 fit? When I think about you and your profession and soon to be sort of profession of being a teacher, I think a lot about how does the trajectory of 4 years lead you up to be prepared for the internship year. So I want to first go back to sort of your beginning years at Michigan State and talk a little bit about TE250 and TE291. We sort of at Michigan State really value these courses as they're sort of at the crux of talking about issues of power, oppression, and opportunity. How our institutional legacies such as racism and the histories that sort of plague American civilization, how are these at play in the sort of legacy of teaching and in the institution of education? Moreover, TE291 sort of talks about identities and family and community literacies and really helped put you as an urban section in the classroom space where you got to talk to the various stakeholders that students of yours were sort of becoming interlocutors with, right? So understanding how the family sort of could bring in a fund of knowledge to the classroom space. In TE348, we really began to do a deep dive into reading and responding to children's literature. This class will come up again and again in TE405 as you sort of probe the various types of lenses that you will read for in children's literature, as well as in the English Language Arts and field-based lesson that you'll do for this semester that really looks at holding a discussion using a reading strategy of a book, either a picture book or a young adult story. I do want to make mention here very quickly to sort of the Gen Ed coursework. A lot of education majors sort of say, it's just an ISS course. But I think that the Gen Ed and the liberal arts courses that this university makes you take are really hugely important when we think about what you as an elementary school teacher will bring in terms of like the core knowledge that core content knowledge you'll have as an instructor. I want us to sort of think back to those English classes and those linguistics and language learning and teaching courses that we took at the university and sort of think about things like syntax and semantics and semiotics and understand how those sort of concepts will help us become better literacy instructors. Last semester you took TE403 and TE404. This really sort of focused on the depth of content of social studies and science, and we began to sort of understand how content merges with practice when we sort of spend time in the classroom and when we're beginning to understand how we sort of deliver a lesson plan, how we backwards plan at the daily level and at the unit level, as well as how we sort of began to understand how do we sort of build assessments so that students really, so that we as instructors know what students know. In TE405, we're going to continue this trajectory and think, how does my vision of literacy and English language arts influence who I am as a teacher? So this, along with your mathematics coursework, will hopefully prepare you to feel very confident going into that internship year for setting a strong vision with your mentor teacher for student success. So I know many of you have had me before, but just to sort of go and do a quick overview of who I am, my name is John Wargo. I'm a graduate student at Michigan State University in the Department of Teacher Education, and I'm actually someone who didn't get their undergrad in education. I'm an alternatively certified teacher. I'm alternatively certified to teach K-8. In my experience and tenure as a teacher, I taught grades kindergarten, first, and second. And just a little bit to tell you more about my practice, my favorite subject to teach, and one that I'm really excited to share with you about this semester is writing. I think that writing is one of those sort of tricky subjects to teach because in order to teach it well, you sort of have to view yourself as a writer. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we begin to sort of talk about reading comp and the writerly disposition of becoming an English language arts teacher. In terms of research, I have two sort of focal projects I'm working on right now. One is sort of focused at the teacher level of understanding how pre-service teachers and in-service teachers really discuss difference through young adult literature. How are identities of difference and sort of subcultural groups talked about in young adult literature by teachers? And what does this say about their practice, their own dispositions and values, and some of the sort of strategies they use in employing dialogic communication in the classroom. The second interest is actually a primary interest of mine, which is youth writing in digital spaces. My dissertation will look primarily at Tumblr and 6 LGBT youth enacting gendered and sexual subjectivities on that writing environment. So I care a lot about technology and new literacies and what sort of youth are doing in these spaces. Similarly, I care a lot about qualitative research methods. Questions that really sort of keep me up at night are, what are the ethics of research? How do we sort of, humanize the research we do with youth and communities of color that really sort of helps us not disenfranchise or marginalize them, but give voice to their experience in ways that we act as co-collaborators with them. One of the key features of this course is keeping a dialogic journal. Now, don't run out and buy one. I actually purchased dialogic journals or comp notebooks for everyone, which I will give out next Monday. Just very quickly, we're going to talk a little bit about the dialogic journal. So I see a dialogic journal as a journal that, we're asking you to keep it so we can help document your thoughts, your practice, and your learnings for the course. As your first entry, and as I noted in the previous email, we're going to ask you to bring a small picture of an artifact that represents your understanding of literacy. So we're going to ask you to quick write in that first class to sort of, write a short narrative about what this artifact means to you, how it has come to signify literacy for you, and what it represents to you as a beginning teacher. Very quickly, I also, before our first in-person class, I want you to go over the syllabus and think through, what questions you may have, how the course schedule reflects your other course schedules, how this aligns with your own personal goals for the course. If you haven't already, please download the syllabus under D2L. It's under the folder Syllabus and Course Schedule. This is actually one of our readings for next time. In talking a little bit about technology and Facebook for the course, on D2L, our secondary readings will be housed there. So rather than having you purchase a course pack, we just put all of the readings on D2L for you. Moreover, Facebook, which many of you have already joined the discussion group, thank you. Facebook's actually going to act as our discussion forum. I'll be posting a question every week, and it's your job to respond to those questions in a timely manner. So I actually do not count posts that happen after our class. When I post a question, you need to respond before the next class. In addition to D2L and Facebook, participation will also be counted because of your dialogic journal. We'll ask you to sort of keep this as a living and breathing journal that we will respond to you going back and forth as course instructors. Just a quick breakdown of assignments and points. As you can see, rather than 404 and 405 where you did group work, 403 and 404, 405 is a very sort of individual oriented course where there's not a lot of group work happening. Classroom and field participation will be 20 points and 20% of your grade. The Facebook discussion forum will be 10% or 10 points of your grade. The dialogic journal will be 10 points. And then you have two very large assignments, the English Language Arts lesson plan and reflection, as well as the differentiating English Language Arts instruction project. The differentiating English Language Arts instruction project is our first assignment. That is under the assignments folder under D2L if you want to get a head start on reading that. That actually needs to be read before our first in-class as we will go over sort of the course objectives and goals for what that assignment hopes to sort of provide to you as a pre-service teacher. I want to quickly go over some questions that will help you guide your reading for Mole and Paris. So we asked you to read Funds of Knowledge for a couple of reasons. It's a piece that is sort of a classic of teacher education. It really reframed the way we thought about how school and home can be bridged by the teacher and by the type of curricular decisions the teacher makes. So consider the following when thinking about Funds of Knowledge. According to Mole, what is culture? Think about, is this idea of culture that Mole and his colleagues present different or similar to your own conception of culture? Then let's do a little bit of unpacking. What does Mole and his colleagues mean when describing or talking about funds of knowledge? What are funds of knowledge? And then think a little bit about you as a teacher, right? And you as a researcher of your own practice. Can you draw upon funds of knowledge in your praxis or in your practice, right? How do you see them operating in your own classroom? In comparison to Mole, we're going to look at Paris's culturally sustaining pedagogy. So again, think about, according to Paris, what is culture, right? Is this different or similar to your own conception? Is it different or similar to Mole and his colleagues' conception? Then think about, what is culturally sustaining pedagogy? Is this different than culturally relevant or culturally responsive? What are its differences? How can you bring to fruition a pedagogy that's both content-driven and culturally sustaining, right? What are some of the, the obstacles that may sort of prevent that culturally sustaining work being done in your classroom? These are some of the questions we'll draw on as we sort of talk in a whole group on next week about Mole and Paris. But I want you to really focus in on these two authors because they're going to really help us understand, how we can sort of bridge communities in which we teach with sort of the classroom spaces in which we reside. So let's talk a little bit about what's due to me next time. So in class 2, the focus is really exploring learner diversity and knowing our students from multiple perspectives, right? So as you can see in the course schedule, there will always be some sort of bulleted questions that we as TE405 instructors want you to sort of really grapple with. In terms of the course materials that you have to have read, you definitely have to have read the syllabus as well as the differentiating language arts instruction assignment sheet. Again, these are assignments, and the syllabus is on D2L for your reading. In terms of the actual readings we want you to read, you are responsible for Tompkins, pages 6 through 12, Gibbons chapter 1, which is only 13 pages, and then the Maples, which is a really sort of quick read, 2 pages. In addition, I want you as individuals to either choose what to read, either Diller and Lester or Fleming and Hetlinger. So out of those 4 articles, you'll be reading 2, and again, it's either Diller and Lester or Fleming and Hetlinger. All the way over to the right-hand column, you'll see that due 113, rather than taking notes in our dialogic journals, because I wasn't able to give you them, I'm actually going to ask this, that you post the responses to these bullet point questions to our Facebook group. So thinking about some of your goals for the course, think about sort of in what ways you school and community, the context you hope to teach, what is it? I know some of you are thinking about Chicago or have gotten into Chicago. Others are thinking about other urban areas. If you're not, right, where do you hope to teach? What type of school do you hope to be a part of? And then in this last question that connects to the readings, how do those jigsaw articles really help you think about the kind of teacher you want to be? These are really sort of great readings that help us bring to fruition a sort of vision of our own teacher practice. So, with all of that being said, I hope that you are staying warm in this crazy, crazy weather, and or you're enjoying the game at the Breslin Center. I look forward to meeting you in person, and I look forward to a great semester. See you soon.